Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. The Big 12 went through a lot of changes this offseason as 30% of the conference is bringing in a brand new head coach. But the conference also saw a lot of change at the quarterback position as 6 of the 10 Big 12 teams, 60% of the conference, is set to start a brand new quarterback, someone that was not the starter at the beginning of 2021. And today we are here to rank every single one of those Big 12 quarterbacks, starting at number 10 and working our way all the way up to number 1. And we're going to go ahead and jump right on into our rankings, guys. Coming in at number 10, we have Hunter Dekkers, the new quarterback at Iowa State. You know, for the last, 3-4 years, we have been seeing the Brock Purdy show in Ames. And Brock Purdy now off to the NFL. Hunter Dekkers is set to take over with the Cyclones. And we have him down at number 10 solely because of the inexperience. He has a lot of potential. He's got a great frame, 6'3", 235 pounds, but he's the most inexperienced quarterback in the Big 12 right now, only attempting 36 passes in 2021. So while I believe that the ceiling is very high for Hunter Dekkers, while I think he will do well with Matt Campbell and the Cyclones in 2022, he comes in at last due solely, again, to the inexperience and youth. And at number 9, Jalen Daniels at Kansas. Daniels finally gives the Jayhawks some quarterback consistency. You know, Kansas has not only been one of the worst teams in the Big 12 for well over the last decade, they've been one of the worst teams in the country for well over the last decade. And what major reason for that is a lot, but the quarterback position. They could never find a consistent and stable quarterback, and I believe Daniels is that guy. He threw for 860 yards and 7 touchdowns last year, also added 3 rushing touchdowns. He threw 6 touchdowns in his final 3 games, including 3 in that upset overtime victory at Texas. And all 3 of those last games, he threw for at least 200 yards. I think Daniels gives Lance Leipold a bona fide starter, a guy who has experience, a guy who has some talent that can help Kansas start to rack up some more wins. Maybe not get to the postseason this year, but not to become the laughingstock of the country anymore. So Daniels in at number 9. Still has a way to go, but a lot of promise there. In at number 8, a bit of a battle between Donovan Smith and Tyler Shugg at Texas Tech. More than likely, Donovan Smith is going to get this starting job. When Tyler Shugg went down with an injury last year against Texas, Smith stepped in, threw for 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions, and led the Red Raiders to that upset victory over Mississippi State in the Liberty Bowl, throwing for 252 yards and accounting for 2 total touchdowns in that game. He's certainly a dangerous dual-threat quarterback. Shugg, though, is experienced, and he is bouncing back from his injury after throwing for over 800 yards and 6 touchdowns in 4 games last year. So a bit of a battle there for Joey McGuire, the new head man in Lubbock, but I believe many are banking on Donovan Smith to be the starter for the Red Raiders, and I believe he is going to be the guy that gives them the best chance to win in 2022. And at number 7, Max Duggan at TCU. Some could argue that Duggan should be higher up on this list. He's very talented and continues to improve. He threw for over 2,000 yards and 16 touchdowns in 2021 and also rushed for over 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. Duggan is a dangerous dual-threat quarterback. You might not look at him and say he can run, but he definitely can. He also improved on his accuracy in 2021, completing 63.9% of his passes. He gives new head coach Sonny Dykes a brand new, really a great starter. New head coach, but an experienced starter down at TCU. And he's a guy that I believe can get the Horned Frogs back into the postseason and maybe a little bit beyond that. Maybe a dark horse contender in the Big 12 going in to 2022. But Duggan in at number 7, a lot of talent there. But again, I think being at number 7, that just shows how much Big 12 quarterback talent there is with the 6 guys ahead of him. In at number 6, Blake Chapin at Baylor. A couple weeks ago, we were all kind of surprised to hear Dave Aranda give Chapin the starting job instead of Gary Bohannon, who started the majority of 2021 before going down with an injury. But Chapin, guys, showed a lot of promise when he was in the game replacing Bohannon. He started the season finale against Texas Tech. He also started the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma State. Baylor won both of those games. And in that championship game against Oklahoma State, Chapin went 23 for 28 for 180 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. He ended the year with 596 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. So he takes good care of the football, showed a lot of poise, considering the circumstances he was thrown into late in the year, and Baylor obviously being in the hunt for that Big 12 title and maybe a dark horse playoff contender. Going into 2022, he's young, but he's been in some big moments already, and clearly Dave Aranda knows something that maybe other fans do not. He has a lot of faith in Chapin to lead this Baylor team that once again is looking to repeat as Big 12 champions, and we have Chapin in at number 6 in the conference. And at number 5, Adrian Martinez at Kansas State. This is a transfer quarterback. Martinez had an up-and-down career at Nebraska, but still racked up some very impressive numbers with the Cornhuskers. Over 8,400 passing yards, over 2,300 rushing yards, and 80 total touchdowns during his time in the Big Ten. So Martinez, once again, kind of like Max Duggan, kind of like Donovan Smith, as we mentioned, a dangerous dual-threat quarterback, arguably the best dual-threat quarterback in the Big 12 this year. He is now paired with Deuce Vaughn, one of the best running backs in the Big 12 this year, which is going to make Kansas State one of the more dangerous RPO offenses in the conference. So Kansas State, watch out for the Wildcats in Manhattan. If Martinez can take good care of the football, make good decisions, Kansas State could be a dangerous team this year. And at number 4, Quintin Ayers at Texas. He hasn't even played a game yet, and we have him up at number 4 in the entire conference. That says something. Ayers was the number 1 prospect in the 2022 class. He earned a perfect rating from 247 Sports, 24/7 Sports. He earned a perfect rating for them on the recruiting trail, and Texas obviously has a lot of faith in him being the quarterback, not just for this year, but their quarterback of the future. And they certainly need some quarterback consistency after Hudson Card and Casey Thompson were mediocre last year, but nowhere near where people believe Ayers will be in 2022. I believe that he will live up to the hype. He, again, was the number 1 rated prospect for a reason. We have him at number 4. He certainly will have a very big test in week 2 when his Longhorns take on Alabama. And at number 3, Spencer Sanders at Oklahoma State. He's probably the most experienced quarterback in the conference right now. The biggest thing for Spencer Sanders is taking care of the football and staying healthy as he has battled injuries these last few years. But last year, or actually I should say every year, he has completed at least 62% of his passes for nearly 7,000 yards and has accounted for 50 total touchdowns. Last year, he had 668 rushing yards, so he's a dangerous dual-threat quarterback again. We had plenty of those in the Big 12 this year. The biggest thing, again, is health and taking care of the football, as Sanders has accounted for 31 career interceptions in Stillwater. He has to cut down on those interception numbers, but outside of that, he is extremely experienced, and he will have Oklahoma State in the hunt, not just for a Big 12 title, but a college football playoff berth. In at number 2, JT Daniels at West Virginia. He's finally found a landing spot. JT Daniels began his career at USC. He transferred to Georgia, was the starter at the beginning of the year for Georgia last year, but went down with an injury, and of course the rest is history. Stetson Bennett took over and won a national championship. JT Daniels was arguably the biggest transfer quarterback out there on the market outside the likes of Caleb Williams and guys like that. But JT Daniels, again, over 1,200 yards at the end of 2020 for 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Last year, before he got hurt, already had 7 touchdowns and just 3 interceptions. He's a very accurate quarterback. He's got a great, strong arm. And again, as a guy that has been highly touted since he came out of high school, but really hasn't panned out due to the multiple schools he's played for, and again, the amount of injuries that he has had as well. Daniel's finally going to be the guy at West Virginia, though. There's no doubt about it. We've seen what he can do when he's healthy, and that is why he's earned this number 2 spot. Daniel's hoping to single-handedly save Neil Brown's job in Morgantown. And finally, guys, the number 1 quarterback in the Big 12 heading into 2022, we have Dillon Gabriel at Oklahoma. You know, Oklahoma lost Spencer Rattler to South Carolina. They lost Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley to USC, and they said, don't worry about it. Brent Venables came in, picked up Dillon Gabriel, a guy who has an insane arm, is extremely accurate, and has thrown just 14 interceptions in his entire career compared to the 78 total touchdowns that he has accounted for. Last year, yes, he got hurt at UCF, transferring in from UCF, but in the 2 years prior, he threw for at least 3,500 yards in each of those 2 seasons, and I think he is the perfect fit, not just for Oklahoma, but for this entire Big 12 conference, and that is why the Sooners will once again, for many, be the favorite in the Big 12, just like they have been every year under Lincoln Riley. Just because they have a brand new coach doesn't mean anything. brand new head coach, star quarterback. Oklahoma, for many, will be the favorite to win the conference, and Dillon Gabriel is going to be the major reason why. So there you have it, guys. Those are your Big 12 quarterback rankings heading into 2022. We want to hear from you. A lot of changes, new head coaches, new quarterbacks. What is the Big 12 going to have in store this year? And can the Big 12 get a representative into the college football playoff? We want to hear from you. Share your rankings, share your thoughts on the conference down in the comments below. And as we await those, guys, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share the videos, and become a part of what we're building here at the channel. Become a part of our GE Nation. We want to hear from you, and we don't want you to miss out on any of the college football content we have for you. So make sure to do all of that. And once again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.